Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about Rimmu and Lantern. These are the two pets that are locked behind Asterite. You can get them by participating in PvP, or if you are outside of the United States and you are participating in the crypto at all, you do have a way to get them through there. Let's go ahead talk about what they can do because they are some pretty monstrous pets. Let's go ahead and dig in. Now, nobody, except for probably the mega PvPers and the mega whales, at least for the first couple of months, are probably going to get these pets. However, I do love to look at them, and I do love having a goal for the long term. And look at Rimmu. Rimmu is so cute. The Lantern, I mean, I don't do seafood, so it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, crabs. But Rimmu, I can definitely get behind. So let's take a look at what Rimmu does here. Rimmu's Heart, the first ability that we have here, is a passive. And let's just assume that you're going to be able to get 10 versions of Rimmu to max Rimmu out here. It is going to decrease damage from players by 7%, not 70%. It is going to give a stun resist rate of 50%. And the active ability, I Hate You, is going to deal 532% of attack as damage if the target is a player seals a familiar for 5 seconds. Can we just take a moment and love that we are playing a Kuni game, and the ability of one of the monsters is I Hate You in a world where you can PvP anybody? It's very amusing to me. Devour, the pet ability, is going to devour a nearby enemy familiar, plunging it into darkness. Oh, it's going to deal 496% of attack as AoE damage to enemies, remove 2 buffs from the enemy, and causes fear for 2 seconds. Of course, very powerful. Definitely going to be looking forward to maybe having like a level 1 version of him one day. Even if I got the level 1 version, I think I would probably be happy. He is a darkness element familiar, which is important to note here as well, because there are a lot of darkness element familiars that synergize really well in PvP. So he is just going to be like the cream of the crop. If you see somebody with this pet, you're going to die. And I think you just need to, like, there's an element of like, you just need to accept that your death is coming. Now, Lantern, a light element familiar, I've seen a lot of people talking about him because he's quote unquote best in slot or engineer is what I've heard. Now, personally, I don't really feel like there are best in slot familiars right now with the current state of the game, especially with the global buffs to the different familiars all over the place. I really feel like, you know, what's going to come down to, you know, a lot of things in PvP is going to be individual player skill and not necessarily the best in slot familiars that you have set. And I think there could be a variety of reasons to set other familiars as well. So I think anybody out there, if you ever hear them say like, this familiar is only good on this class, that should definitely be a red flag for you. There may be opportunities where it's good on all classes. For example, Lantern gives critical hit resist rate plus 10%, damage taken minus 1% for each light familiar. That's good for any character. It's not good for just engineers. So at max level, this is 20% critical hit rate resist, damage taken minus 3%. Right now, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know, okay, I like Rimmu a little bit more than I'm liking the crab. Let's see what the second ability is though. HP potion and heal recovery plus 30%. That's really good. But becomes immune to damage for 3 seconds and familiar skill damage up 10%. So I can see why they would say this is best in slot for engineers, because of course engineers have access to a heal. But I honestly think this would probably be best in slot on any character because of the fact that it has immunity to damage. This is very similar to Molten Lion, where Molten Lion is just raw good because of the immunity to damage. I don't even really think that the crab here is really a PvP familiar. I really feel like this is going to be like a PvE familiar because very similar with Molten Lion, you want that damage immunity. You want to survive in different PvE situations, and that's really going to help you out doing that. I do think there is good synergy with the damage taken minus for light familiars, because a lot of light familiars have, you know, buffs that kind of coordinate with light familiars as well. And even if you do end up taking the crab into PvP, you could take bird, or potentially, you know, one of the other light familiars to really kind of support and do that. So the familiar ability is going to be Golden Pumpkin. It's going to morph the 2 most distant enemies into pumpkins for 5 seconds. So anytime you have CC, is going to be really great. Interestingly, I don't see, he is a tank type. It's interesting because you would think Crab-a-Lantern, just reading through his abilities, was a support type, but he is actually a tank type. So he is going to have a little bit more defense than your standard pet, which I was not expecting. Let's go look at Rimmu real quick, because Rimmu is probably an attack type, I would imagine. No, Rimu's a tank type as well. That's remarkable. With such an attack, I mean, I guess it makes sense that, you know, it is defensive oriented because the passive ability is lowering damage taken. But the fact that it has such a powerful attack and it seals enemy familiars, it doesn't feel like a tank type to me. Like when I think about tank types, I think about bird. I think about, you know, potentially stunning the opponent. I don't really think about sealing familiars. So I can see it. I guess with the stun resist, it does make sense. I just, it's not what I was thinking initially. I feel like the line between support and tank really they kind of blur occasionally, and it does sometimes cause problems for me when I'm trying to figure out, you know, what type of a familiar is this? Like, what do they want from this familiar? Because quite often a support familiar can have very defensive oriented abilities, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, like this is interesting. Anyway, everybody, let me know what you think about these two. I know most of us are probably never going to be able to get these familiars, at least for like a year, because we're going to have to farm, you know, PvP, and we're going to have to get these medals through PvP, but very interesting to look at least. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will catch you guys next time.